This is going to be my TED Talk on Trump running again in 2024. And I want to lay a few things out here, and then we're just going to have an open-ended discussion amongst the three of us with the time we have remaining in the aftermath for the rest of this hour, okay? Let's start with a point that I made last hour, and let's reset this. Maybe Trump was always going to run again and ramp it back up at this time, but at the very least, it's hard not to notice how he is suddenly getting a lot of things rolling, coming off a second-place finish to Ron DeSantis in the Western Conservative Summit straw poll recently. If indeed Trump is going to run again in 2024, he will likely do so unopposed, or at least unopposed by anyone who isn't a caricature of a Jeff Flake type. Therefore, I think now is the time for us to get answers from Trump that I think we deserve to have. Because once he's the nominee again, the differences between Trump and whoever ends up being the Democrat nominee are going to be so stark. It won't even be lesser to evils arguments. It's going to be so stark that's just not going to be the time to hash things out. All right? You don't hash out with your brother what to do with the inheritance mom and pop left you when your home is when your home's being invaded. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't mean that's not like an important and very contentious argument, right? But you need to make sure you're breathing tomorrow to continue it first. Yes. Fair? Yeah. Okay. So we're going to be too busy trying to defeat the Marxists. It'll be too late. That's why we need to have this conversation now. Before we do, first though, let me declare just a couple of things. All right. Number one, I voted for Trump without reservation in 2020. In fact, he's the first GOP presidential nominee I have voted for since 2004. Despite my previous issues and skepticisms, Trump's pre-COVID record as president alone merited my vote, in my opinion. That's even before now I add in the radicalism of spirit of the age Democrats into the calculus. I think he had already earned my vote before I even contrast that now with the consequence of what happens if the other side wins. Well, Steve, how come you didn't make that calculus before? Because John McCain, Mitt Romney, and frankly, Donald Trump in his first go around, in my opinion, had not built up any form of resume or record that you need to earn my vote first. First, we have to agree morally, I should vote for you or should consider it. Then we can take a look at what the alternative is. If I do it the other way around, then I'm always basing what my decisions off of the morality I'm against. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
If I start from, boy, how terrible is what I don't want, then I'm basing my decision off of what? What I don't want, as opposed to what I do. That's why. You may keep Christmas in your way, but as far as I vote, I'm going to keep Christmas in mine. And this is how I do it. Number two, I also believe that Trump, we, because really it's really about us more than him, was cheated in the last election. I do not believe it was a legitimate result. And I've heard zero counter arguments from anyone I respect that has caused me to think differently since last November. If anything, I believe the 2020 election was stolen more now than I even did in the immediate aftermath last November. I restate these 2 points in the hopes that it will help you to take what I'm about to say next in the spirit it's intended. I don't want what's best for Trump. My last name's not Trump, and I'm not working for him. I don't want what's best for any other politician. I want what's best for we the people. I want to know if they're what's best for we the people. And we deserve to know if that's a third presidential bid by Trump. And now's the time to ask, especially because it would likely end the possibility of any legitimate alternatives. We deserve to know if the potential of Trump v. version 3.0 is worthy of effectively canceling the entire 2024 GOP presidential process in exchange for it. To that end, here are some questions I think we the people deserve to get answers to before we shut the door on any Trump alternatives in 2024, and therefore entrust our collective fates to Trump once more. Number one, given what happened with coronavirus, how do we know Trump won't abrogate the authority we gave him and hand it over to the next Fauci-esque swamp monster the next time the media and the system demand it over some contrived crisis. Number 2, what standard will Trump deploy, and what advisors will he trust to help him know if a crisis is real and requires drastic action, or is contrived for the purposes of our enemies just acquiring even more power? Unlike what happened with coronavirus, will he trust in the wisdom of a multitude of counsel, or do everything that the next Fauci that comes along says? Because I can promise you, in the Leviathan of the swamp, in every department, on every issue, in every bureaucracy, Anthony Fauci is a legion. Number 3, it is now confirmed the Pentagon refused Trump's presidential orders twice, once on training madness and then again on putting down civil unrest in the cities last summer. Is Trump prepared to truly drain the swamp at the Pentagon this time? Because some of his own appointments were the problem. Number 4, does Trump have a better vetting tool for senior staff / cabinet officials so that we don't end up with any more Rex Tillersons, Elaine Chao's, Bill Barr's, Christopher Wray's, Reince Priebus's, Sonny Perdue's, Gina Haspel's, Wilbur Ross's, Steve Mnuchin's, it's a lot of names, Jim Mattis's, H.R. McMaster's, I could go on. All of these people held positions of great power in the Trump administration, and they ranked anywhere from ineffective to treacherous. And almost all of them were really just treacherous. Number 5, will Trump listen more to Don Jr. and less to Javanka? Don Jr. seems fairly committed to our issues and causes. Javanka, not so much, not awesome. So will we get who's your daddy or butt daddy, basically is what I'm asking with this question. All right, number 6. Trump said at his Ohio rally over the weekend he's been disappointed in the conservatives on the Supreme Court, 3 of which he appointed. So is he now ready, therefore, to defy the courts as president, to uphold the Constitution instead? Number 7. Will Trump finally put his thumb on the scale to help us once and for all get rid of the likes of McConnell and McCarthy, rather than covering for them, doing business with them? I'm really arguing here that I would actually like Donald Trump to put his full stamp on the party. That's my argument. Similar to how when he was president, I was like, man, I really would like to see more of that authoritarian Trump that I feared, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd actually like to see him throw his ego around more. I'd like to see him put more of his stamp on the party. I don't think the problem is he's put too much of his stamp on the party. It's that he hasn't put enough, actually. Number 8. Is Trump prepared to fully investigate the incidents surrounding the experimental mRNA injections he funded and takes credit for, as well as hold responsible those that may deserve it? Especially because we are flirting right now with creating a 2-tiered American citizenship, a superior class of those willing to be the experiments and inferiors now because you're unwilling to be the lab rats. As I said last hour, let me repeat this. In the history of the CDC's adverse effects database for vaccines, there are already now more complaints about myocarditis and chest pains associated as an adverse effect of the mRNA injections, which are not even a year old now. There are more complaints associated with those injections than with every other vaccine going back to 1990 combined. Is he prepared to critically self-assess his own stated greatest accomplishment, if need be? Because, let me do my Joe Biden impersonation. It's looking like it's going to need be. Okay? It's looking like it's going to be needed. Number 9. After what happened with his first term, and what the swamp tried to do to his presidency, which is wreck it, does Trump finally understand the swamp cannot be drained with art of the deal, but only by Trump actually being the very type of disrupting provocateur he's often accused of being? In other words, be the wrecking ball you are often accused of being. Because you often weren't and got all the blowback for that anyway. Like political body bags. Like folks lighting themselves on fire with their resumes on Don Lemon tomorrow. Because you're going to get called all the same names anyway if you don't do it right.
Yes.
So then we might as well, there needs to be a monument to bureaucrats when your presidency's done. They do a monument to bureaucrats who are politically dead.
Here layeth the swamp.
Yes. Because you're going to get called all the same names anyway. So you might as well just do it. Now, these questions are designed to encourage Trump to fully become the president many of you have hoped he could be. Not just the president who proved the media is fake news, which we appreciate that, or outperformed anemic previous standard bearers like W. McCain and Romney. Let's face it, that standard was low, right?
Yes.
It's a low standard, okay? But a true champion that will return power in this country back to we the people where it belongs. This has been my TED Talk.